distinguished state and local officials and community leaders, members, veterans, and friends of Naval Submarine Base New London, our submarine force, our great Navy and Armed Forces. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Submarine Force Museum. I am Lieutenant Commander Brian Chapman, Officer in charge of Historic Ship Nautilus and Director of the Submarine Force Museum. I'll be serving as the Master of Ceremonies tonight. Today we gather to celebrate a wonderful gift to the Navy, this new dock here at our museum. Many friends of our Navy were involved with its conception, construction, and completion, and we'll hear from a number of them this evening. Their dedicated drive behind this generous gift truly connects them. Now will literally connect us. The Navy has granted a license for use of this new dock by the Thames River Heritage Park Foundation's Harbor Tours and Cruises for the 2025 season. We'll hear from the chair of the Park Foundation's Board of Directors shortly, but this unique Connecticut park focuses on one river and 1,000 stories. The world's first nuclear submarine, USS Nautilus, and this museum, home to our submarine force's revolutionary history, pioneering accomplishments, and enduring legacy. They're all a story that we are excited to tell. Of course, before there was the premier submarine builder in the world, Electric Boat, who constructed Nautilus just down the river from here, and before Naval Submarine Base New London, our nation's and Navy's first and finest submarine base, was established just a few hundred yards upriver from here. It was the foresight, hard work, and determination of Connecticut leaders and citizens that ultimately led to the United States Navy having a foothold along the flat eastern terrace of the Thames River in 1868. That foothold would be a naval yard, storage depot, and even a coaling station before realizing its full potential in 1916 as our nation's first permanent continental submarine base. The state of Connecticut played a key part in that initial gift of land for the establishment of a naval installation more than 150 years ago, and they have continued to play an instrumental role in the growth and preeminence of our Navy and submarine force. So tonight we are pleased that members of our Connecticut General Assembly can join us, and we'd like to invite State Representative Andre Baumgartner and any of his colleagues to join us for a recitation of a citation that they've got.
Good evening, everyone. It is such an honor to be with everyone today. Just want to introduce myself and my esteemed colleague, State Representative Andre Baumgartner. I have the privilege of representing the 41st District, which encompasses the southern half of Groton and the southwestern corner of Stonington. And I'm joined by Representative Dan Gajewski, a newly elected state representative for the 40th District, representing the northern half of Groton, including where we stand here at the submarine at Subbase in London, and certainly the museum as well. And of course, our flagship submarine, Nautilus. This is such a historic day, and looking out to the crowd, seeing so many current and former commanding officers who not only have been such incredible leaders in our community, but also deeply involved in the with respect to the civics of our community. Civics in the sense of our community institutions, right, rolling up their sleeves and actually building a tourist hub right here on the Thames River. The Thames River Heritage Park was an idea that became a reality in large part because of the partnerships that we that we've created with our military community, and of course our local government and cultural arts and cultural institutions. And looking to my left, seeing former Groton City Mayor Marion Galbraith, who, my goodness, has poured her blood, sweat, and tears into this initiative, and it's just so amazing to finally see what I believe is finally now the last stop on the Thames River work that could not have been done without you and so many other committed volunteers on the board of directors, seeing Pam Adams, of course, one of the original board members, and so many others. And so I just truly want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart. I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge our incredible town manager, John Burt, who quietly has always worked behind the scenes to make sure that this project would come into fruition. I recall my days on the Groton Town Council when we'd receive our weekly reports, usually received about an hour ago today on Friday, of course, and he would always provide at least a tidbit of additional information regarding the dock behind us. So with that, again, just want to thank each and every one of you here to celebrate this historic day, and I'll pass it along to my esteemed colleague, Representative Gajewski.
Thank you all for inviting me here today. I know when I was on the town council as well, we were continuously following this project, and it is great that we have finally seen the completion of this, and it will help our community. Groton is becoming an economic driver, and this is part of our economic driver, with a beautiful submarine force base and a submarine force base museum, and now this tour that can expand throughout the region. So it is vitally important to have the connections of the community and bring the economic impact and enjoy our great Thames River that we all love. And former Mayor Galbraith mentioned to me also, she said, make sure that the funding for this project, funding for the Thames River Heritage Park, is still in the budget. So that will be in my Control F when we get the final budget document to make sure that the funding is still there, and if it's not, we'll have to get right to work. But hoping for no surprises. But thank you all for coming, and I'm going to pass it back to Representative Baumgartner to read the citation that we have introduced in the legislature with our colleague, Senator Summers.
Absolutely. So, State of Connecticut General Assembly official citation introduced by myself, Representative Andre Baumgartner, 41st District, Representative Dan Gajewski, 40th District, Representative Nicholas Menapace, 37th District, Representative Nick Gauthier, 38th District, Representative Kevin Ryan, 139th District, Representative Gregory Howard, 43rd District, Representative Brian Lanoux, 45th District, Representative Darrell Wilson, 46th District, Representative Doug Dubitsky, 47th District, Senator Heather Summers, 18th District, Senator Martha Marks, 20th District, and Senator Kathy Austin, 19th District, Representative Anthony Nolan, 39th District. Be it hereby known to all that the Connecticut General Assembly hereby offers its sincerest congratulations to Naval Submarine Base New London in recognition of the completion of the new dock at the Submarine Force Museum, a milestone made possible through the partnership between Naval Submarine Base New London, the Town of Groton, the Thames River Heritage Park, and the Submarine Force Library and Museum Association. This new dock will serve as a vital connection point for Thames River Heritage Park's harbor tours and cruises, strengthening public access to our maritime history and honoring Groton's deep ties to the U.S. Navy and submarine heritage. This achievement reflects the power of collaboration and the enduring spirit of community service and education that defines our region. The entire membership extends its very best wishes on this memorable occasion and expresses the hope for continued success. Given the 16th day of May 2025 at the state capitol, Hartford, by Martin Looney, President Pro Tem of the Senate, Matt Ritter, Speaker of the House, and Stephanie Thomas, Secretary of the State.
Thank you, gentlemen. Really appreciate your presence here today and the consideration. So next, we're pleased that the Executive Director of the State of Connecticut's Office of Military Affairs could join us this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Bob Ross.
I can't tell you how many times I've been on this pier and experienced a weather change and a temperature drop. I'm sorry to be so casual, but I spent the afternoon on that boat tooling around here on the river. And I'm hoping that if you haven't done it yet, you're going to do it very soon. It's a lot of fun. So what is the Thames River Heritage Park? Early attempts at this failed in the 1990s. Now, I wasn't back here. I don't know why it failed, but there was a massive amount of investment that went into this idea, but it never got off the ground. So about 10 years ago, the idea was resurrected. The Avery Cop House paid for a study that was done at Yale. It was at the Yale School of Urban Design. And the vision that came out of that study is that you've got about 20 partners along the river. They're all small enterprises, and they can't succeed independently as well as they can succeed as a group if they get into collaboration. So we build sustainability around 4 major anchors. And the anchors are Fort Trumbull, Fort Griswold, the Submarine Force Museum, and the future National Coast Guard Museum. And Wes Pulver is here tonight. If you have questions about the future National Coast Guard Museum, you need to corner him before he gets away. So we use the Thames River to connect and collaborate. We build history and heritage as an ecosystem along the shores of the Thames River. So who owns this thing? I was asked about 10 years ago to put together a meeting up in Hartford between the commissioners of DOT, DEEP, and DECD. So we got the commissioners in the room. It was Commissioner Rob Klee, Jim Redeker, Catherine Smith, and Andy Maynard when he was senator and co-chair of the Transportation Committee was in the room. And we had, and Mayor Galbraith was in the room and several others. We had a great discussion. And the discussion led to this. This should be so easy. So let's see, this is a state park. It's designated so in statute. So easy, it belongs to DEEP. They own all the state parks. This is a transportation system. It moves people. So easy, it belongs to DOT. This is all about history, heritage, culture, tourism, and arts. So the Office of the Arts in DECD owns this. The point is, everybody has a piece of this. That's why it succeeded. The Thames River Heritage Park does not fit in stovepipes. It crosses all of these boundaries. And we have really great people within all those boundaries helping to make this happen. So that's how it came to life. There are a lot of board members here. If you are a current or former board member, would you stand up for the Thames River Heritage Park? Thank you very much for doing that. So Mayor Galbraith, I think, deserves the lion's share of credit. When she was the city's mayor and on this board, she made things happen. That boat is there because of her. When the Navy gets rid of surplus material, municipal governments get first crack at it. And she got 3 of these boats here. The third boat I want to just mention is the Namiog. That name is kind of unfamiliar to a lot of people. But when the first logo of the Thames River Heritage Park was rolled out, the logo was one river, 400 years, 1,000 stories. And on that very first meeting, we pushed back, said, no, no, no. The history of this river goes way back before colonies came here and renamed it. It was the Namiog. And so that boat is named to honor that long, long history of indigenous people that lived on the shores of this river. So I'm going to wrap up here. What's most thrilling to me about this is that this is a Navy Maritime Museum, and we're going to have another maritime museum on the other side of the river. And you will be able to visit these museums from the sea. Nothing could be more appropriate than that, to go to a maritime museum and tie up at a pier right in front. So there's no doubt in my mind that because these 4 anchors are all free to the public, this will become the top tourist attraction in probably all of Connecticut, certainly all of southeastern Connecticut. And I don't know how many other Navy and Coast Guard museums there are where you can tie up. Thank you for being out here tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Ross. That's one of our got top spot in the next couple of years, so we're definitely on board with that. So helping steward vision into reality for this dock has been the Connecticut Port Authority. Through its Small Harbor Improvements Projects program, funding was secured, and through its dedicated leadership, the project, decades in the making, was completed. Ladies and gentlemen, we're pleased that the chairman of the Connecticut Port Authority Board of Directors, who is also the former president of the Thames River Heritage Park Foundation Board of Directors, and who was, as well, the 51st Commanding Officer of Naval Submarine Base New London, could join us this evening. Please help me welcome retired Captain Paul Weisfeld.
Thanks, OIC. So I was doing Bible study this morning, and we're, Katie and I do these Bible studies with the church, and talking about the Holy Spirit, and I was sitting there thinking about what am I going to say tonight, and it came to me with a little bit of submarine history and a little bit of unfinished business. And I was going to say, which path do you want me to take, tenacity or unfinished? And quite frankly, they're both the same story. So when I came here, Bob mentioned that it was 10 years ago, 2015. Well, that just happens to coincide when I became the commanding officer of the base in 2015. And Carl Otte, he had two things that he wanted to turn over to me. One is finished, the other is unfinished. But one is the sale of the USS Groton, which is still back here, getting ready to be part of our gratitude to the submarine force and all those people that design, build, maintain, and operate submarines. But that's still out there, and it's a little bit unfinished, Marion. I couldn't get that part done for you. But the other part was this dock and the Thames River Heritage Park. He took me over to the magnetic silencing facility, and he had these, I call them a scroll, but it was a blueprint. And he laid it out. Marion was there, and he says, "This is the Thames River Heritage Park dock that goes on the Nautilus dock." And I went, "Okay, well, great." And I was looking at the date, and it was 2009 was the design. And I was talking to Marion today at lunch, and she said, well, we pulled those out, and we gave it to an engineer, and they said, yeah, they're still good. So the other people, I have two mentors here. One is Marion, and the other one is Admiral Lotring, who's been with me for, 30 plus years, sir. Long time. So I went through my entire command tour, and I went to every museum board meeting because I represent the base. And I want to tell you that it was a lot of grief. And I know Admiral Gable is here, and I kept talking about, we're going to put this dock on. He goes, "No, you're not. You're not going to get it done. It's not going to happen." And, that gave me a little bit of tenacity to get this thing done. So I went through my command tour, and I was trying to figure out how Marion was going to keep me involved with this project. And here's a little historical fiction. So I'll put this into perspective for you. So the first thing she did was, "Wouldn't you like to be a member of the Thames River Heritage Park board as a member?" And I said, "Sure. I don't have a problem doing that. I mean, I've been part of this project for 4 years so far." And then she said, "Well, I'm going to retire and I'm going to step down, and I would love for you to be the president of the Thames River Heritage Park." And I said, "Whoa, wait a second." And Pam calls me up. She says, "Paul, we'd really like for you to be the president of Thames River Heritage Park. Would you do it temporarily until the dock is put in?" And this was in 2019. 2019. So I said, "Sure, I'll be the temporary president." Well, I just stepped down from the board, but then historical fiction, I'll add a little bit of this. I was trying to figure out how Marion was going to keep me involved with this. So I think she contacted Admiral Paget and said, "Hey, why don't you get him on the Submarine Force Museum board?" I don't know if that's true or not, but probably not. But so the next thing I know, I'm on the board of the Submarine Force Museum. So now I'm kind of tied in both ways. And then another historical fiction point, I think she got in touch with the governor. Because the next thing I know, I am getting appointed to the Connecticut Port Authority Board of Directors. And I'm going, well, those are the people that have the SHIP grant, Small Harbor Improvement Program. And it was either her or Mark Offinger who was a key player in this as well, because Mark Offinger, and I want to mention Greg Hanover, who's your engineer, correct, John? I'm sure you'll mention him. But they're the ones that put in for this grant through Marion's help. When I read it again today, it was like, wow, there's a lot of information here. $22.6 million since 1990 to get this Thames River Heritage Park going. But, you know, so here I am, and then the next thing I know, I am the chair of the Connecticut Port Authority, and I get to work with John Burt. Now, John and I, we had this, I don't want to call it adversarial, but, you know, he and I would trade some pretty tasty emails about what's the status of this dock. And, you know, it was, there might have been some terse language in there, John, and I apologize, but it's done, and I really appreciate that. But, you know, that's the little historical knowledge about how we got this thing done. And it wasn't easy, and I'm sure John might talk about that, but what a privilege to be standing up here 10 years. 2015 is when I started with this dock. So congratulations to everybody involved. What a great process, and I can't wait. You know, I rode, if you haven't had a chance to, this is a $730,000 dock, so I can't wait for you to walk on it. But congratulations to everybody that made this possible, and to the Thames River Heritage Park, and to the Submarine Force Museum, and to the Connecticut Port Authority. So, job well done.
Thank you very much, Captain Weiscarver. Of course, leading the way in applying for the Small Harbor Improvements Project program funding and tackling the efforts to procure and construct the dock has been the town of Groton. Representing the mayor, the town council, and the generous citizens of Groton this evening is the town manager. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. John Burt.
Good evening. Thank you for everyone being here. Try to keep everything from blowing around. Paul is right. This was not the easiest project to get over the finish line. There was some arm twisting and cajoling to get the last bit done. If I would have known the size of those damn columns, though, I would have been more patient with the contractor. I'm honored to be here on behalf of the town council for this dedication of this beautiful dock. Also, I appreciate all the strong support shown by all of you here in attendance. This is not just another piece of infrastructure. This is a symbol of collaboration, of vision, and commitment to community connectivity. With generous funding through the Connecticut Port Authority, leadership from the Navy, the town of Groton was proud to help bring this project to life. I'd like to single out a few people who were integral to this process. If I forget anybody, I'm very sorry in advance. Feel free to yell at me later. I prefer just a stern look, but, you know, dealer's choice. Like to, of course, Captain Curtin, retired Captain Weiscarver, who is apparently led everything under the sun, and he knows a lot of stuff. He's a great guy. Lieutenant Commander Chapman, who was also very integral. Bob Ross, of course, and what a resource he is to this community. You know, he brings so much here. Steve Sadowski, worked closely with him. Greg Hanover, as mentioned, he's our Public Works Director, former town engineer. Marion Galbraith, of course, somehow in both the city and town charters, it's required that she sign off and approve of everything that goes on in this town. So I appreciate it, Marion. Mark Ofinger, my predecessor, and also a member of pretty much every organization around here at different times. So, you know, Mark's a great guy, and I see him on a lot of things, and he's a great resource. And then, and a thank you to, of course, City Mayor Keith Hedrick. He was involved early on also, and brought a lot of wisdom and experience to the table. To have this here at the Subforce Museum, home to the Nautilus, and so much naval history, it's truly meaningful. Not only are we strengthening access to transportation, but we're also strengthening the connection to our legacy and stories that define this region. I want to thank you again to the Connecticut Port Authority, the U.S. Navy, the Subforce Library Museum Association, the Thames River Heritage Park, Atlantic Marine, the contractors that built this, and all of our other partners. I can't wait to see this dock in action, bringing people together, supporting tourism, and helping all our communities continue to thrive. Thank you.
They go about 120 feet down into the riverbed. They're serious business. So thank you very much, Mr. Burt. So, as I alluded to earlier, a tagline of the Thames River Heritage Park is "One river, 1,000 stories." The Navy has granted a license for use of this new dock by the Thames River Heritage Park's Harbor Tours and Cruises for the 2025 season. Submarine Force Museum could not be more excited for this new opportunity to bring visitors to the site and help them to discover the bold and courageous stories of our submarine force. Ladies and gentlemen, we're pleased that the president of the Thames River Heritage Park Foundation Board of Directors could join us this evening. Please help me welcome Ms. Linda Mariani.
Thank you, and hello to everyone. I want to say, after listening to these speeches, this is a sneaky little group of people. I mean, I was asked to temporarily be on the board, and I really couldn't do it. I said, God, I'm on too many boards, and I'm still working. I really can't do it. Oh, come on, just for a temporary, to get us back on our feet. It'll be a short time. We need a lawyer. So, okay. I agreed. I was on the board for a nanosecond, and they insisted that I had to become the president because somebody wanted to step down. and I'm still guaranteed this is very temporary. And they've also, so this is really Pam, Mark Ofinger, Brent, and they even wrote my speech. I had a speech written, but they wrote my speech. So I'm going to read it. My name is Linda Mariani, president of the Thames River Heritage Park. It's an honor to be addressing you today. The idea for the park began over 30 years ago. I'm going to try not to repeat too much of what you've already heard. So the goal was to focus on the history, which is very rich, and to tie together the federal, the state, the tribal, and the local historic sites lining our river. And my husband says to me, what kind of a park? I mean, this is a park? It makes no sense. And I'll tell you that the way to conceptualize and visualize the concept of a park, it's helpful to think of the Thames River as a necklace. And the historic attractions are the pearls on the necklace. And so as we travel along the Thames River, every time we get to a historic site, you'll think of it as a pearl on the necklace, and then you'll visualize the park. So it will enhance the public experience in the southeastern Connecticut area and serve, as was previously mentioned, a great destination for tourism. And a lot of this is very repetitive, but the study where we wanted to establish a linear heritage park that didn't have one specific location concluded that this would work if it could be readily accessed without having to drive from one side of the river to the other. So thus the water taxi. And this project implementation lay dormant, as you've heard already, for a few years. And maybe 12, 13 years ago, a group of history buffs picked up the project, and a committee was formed. And then there was no looking back. The Thames River Heritage Park officially launched in 2016, at first operating just the hop-on, hop-off water taxi connecting downtown New London with City Pier, Fort Trumbull State Park, and then in Groton there was a dock at Fort Griswold Landing. The park acquired the 3 launches. And what else do we have here? With the addition of the docent tours, happy hours, and a few charters, the popularity grew. By the end of summer 2019, our ridership had grown to a little more than 18,000 passengers. It went off a little in COVID, but we persevered, or I say they persevered. I wasn't around. And today the park is composed of federal, state, local, tribal, and 22 private nonprofit partners consisting of museums and historic sites that dot the region. So you jump off, you go on to one of our historic sites, and there are docents in there to tell the exciting stories of the historic themes. The water taxi operates from early June to early October, and even offers private charters from mid-May through the end of October. Programs are offered to the public in the evenings, on the weekend if weather permits. And if you want to explore on your own, the park has an audio tour of the Groton Bank that can be accessed on your cell phone. In the off-season, the park offers a popular docent training program, which is an awesome thing to go to. It's a whole week from morning till night learning about all of the sites, but it's well worth attending. And the teachers are docents from all the partners and teach the history of the area. And if you go to the docent program, of course, they take you to all the sites. So we also offer a public lecture series at the Lyman Allen Museum that focuses on relevant topics, and eventually hope to run a water taxi to Norwich, and that'll really complete the vision. So today, with the completion of the Nautilus dock, we're delighted to announce the summer of 2025 tours from Groton, New London to the Nautilus Museum, and weekly docent-led tours from the museum around the beautiful Thames River. So on behalf of Thames River Heritage Park, I would like to offer heartfelt appreciation. Hold on, it's coming. For this amazing collaboration. And thanks to all of you who have worked so diligently over 30 years to bring this project to fruition. Thank you.
Join me in welcoming the 53rd Commanding Officer of Naval Submarine Base New London, Captain Kenneth M. Curtin, Jr.
Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it. State, local, and community leaders, officials, and friends. Welcome to the Naval Submarine Base New London, our nation's first and finest submarine base. And welcome to the Submarine Force Museum and the historic ship Nautilus, our Navy's, our nation's, and the world's first and finest nuclear submarine. Nautilus is pioneering, it's revolutionary, and a national historic landmark. But perhaps more importantly to this audience, Nautilus is Connecticut. It's Connecticut made and was designated Connecticut State Ship by the General Assembly in 1983. That designation speaks to Connecticut's heritage as a maritime state and America's heritage as a maritime nation. For 250 years, America's warfighting Navy has sailed the globe in defense of freedom. This year and the next, as we celebrate that 250-year milestone, our Navy continues to serve our great nation, building partnerships, strengthening allies, and deterring adversaries. From seabed to space, we have delivered power for peace and remain always ready to fight and win. I say all this not only to put Nautilus, the Submarine Force Museum and Subbase, in context as we all navigate today's world, but also to highlight that this evening's celebration parallels our Navy's 250 years. As we have learned, this gift of a new dock is a result of developed partnerships and strong allies. and apparently a lot of work from Marion. Before my formal action of accepting this dock, I would like to take this opportunity to recognize a great ally to this museum and another key board of directors. They are crucial to the maintenance, the development, the expansion, and perpetuity of this museum and historic ship. So I would like to ask the president of the Submarine Force Library Museum Association, retired Admiral Arnie Lotrin, and all board members that are here today to please stand and be recognized. Thank you, thank you. Thank you for all your dedication and commitment to assisting the historic ship library and museum in achieving their objectives. As our Navy celebrates 250 years, we recognize the Nautilus and this museum are the gateway connecting tens of thousands of citizens, sailors, and visitors from across the globe in learning about the bold and courageous history of our United States Submarine Force. Nautilus and this museum also serve as the gateway to the nearly 10,000 sailors, civilians, family members, veterans, and retirees that work on or visit this base daily. This evening, with this new dock, we connect our gateway, this historic ship museum, and the submarine base to the Thames River in a new way. Like that initial gift of land for the establishment of the naval installation here almost 150 years ago, Connecticut and its leaders and citizens have continued to invest in our Navy and subbase and support our sailors and families and look out for our veterans. The gift of this dock is just another example of the state's and the community's generous investments and efforts. So on behalf of all the men and women who call Subbase in London home now, as well as all the men and women who have served or worked or lived on the base in the past, allow me to say thank you. Thank you to the submarine capital of the world for embracing us for more than 150 years and for continuing to embrace us as friends and neighbors today. And now, allow me to conclude with this formal action. On behalf of the Secretary of the Navy, who has delegated me a one-time authority, I accept this generous gift of the dock at the Nautilus Pier. Thank you, Town of Groton, and all involved.
Captain. I'll shortly ask Mr. Ross, Captain Whitescarper, Mr. Burt, Miss Mariani, and Admiral Lotring to join Captain Curtin and myself to cut the ribbon on this new dock. Following the ribbon cutting, all guests are invited to partake in some refreshments inside the museum, courtesy of the Submarine Force Library and Museum Association. Ribbon cutting participants, will you please join me?
These are serious scissors. It's not, never mind. I'm not going to go there.
Well.
All right, good. Are we doing a countdown here?
Countdown, sir, and if everybody could look up, that'll be three.
Yeah, so make sure your fingers aren't in the way when you look up the distance. Right? On three, we'll cut. All right? 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Talking about the jet shots. All this together. I am very much aware. They always look so different. So you never trust them.
Yeah, he's. You probably still. Oh
You gotta get a picture of the boat.
Okay, good to see you, Pat.
Thank you for coming. Appreciate it. Wonderful. Just wonderful.
But it's a boat. It's supposed to be that way, I guess.
Right.
If they were easy, then everybody do it. But I'm gonna go get food and probably go get
Yes, absolutely.
I'm actually freezing. So
Yes.
it did get chilly out. Oh man, like, you know what? She's only single screw too, so she's not very maneuverable. Oh no. I go my dad at all. In case people decide to jump on board. They may fall into the deck, yeah.